Hello, friends and fellow golf fans, cocktail aficionados. Welcome to the 19th hole. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get into it. And here we are. I just want to point out my magnificent messy bun. Nobody cares but me, but my hair is finally long enough for a messy bun for anyone who cares. Yeah.
Cheers to the messy bun.
Kind of nice to be back with you two.
Oh.
Wish we could say the same about you, Connor.
I say the same about you, Connor. I missed you.
Yeah,
we had twice as many cherries in your absence last week. It was great.
I saw
We
that.
did.
I did watch the whole show. I did talk to you guys more than I should have just jumped on, really.
Yeah, it was weird.
You should have.
Didn't jump on. It was weird.
Jump on it.
Very weird.
Creeping in the chat instead of jumping in.
I'm a man of the people, Bo. I wanted to hang out with the people.
What happens if I push this button? Are you ready?
Oh,
Hi.
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 Hey, I really enjoy that our backdrop is for the back road.
I saw
Yeah.
that too when we came on. I was like, what is happening?
We're just advertising for other shows on the network.
For
Other
the show right after this one.
Is it this week? Do we have to behave and be fast?
I did not hear. So Seth, if you're part of this viewership right now and you want to let us know and to shut it off, let us know. I didn't get a tweet out. Did you? I did earlier today, but not that we were live. So that might be good. Gosh.
Nobody cares.
We really should celebrate. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Bo McBrayer came in first place last week.
Oh, wait a
I'd
second. I smoke you fools every week. And
I'd for sure like to I'd like to thank Connor for his team shooting 80 plus on Sunday to give me a chance to not finish second for the 15th consecutive week, it feels like. But so Connor had Cam Young shoot an 84 on Sunday. That wasn't good. And who was the other guy that your guy that was doing okay? And then Bo Hostler, the guy who looked really good until he made the turn on Sunday. And then I think he shot 43 on the back. And that was curtains for old Connor because once Hostler was done, he had no more guys scoring a lot of points.
Yeah, I think the boys on Sunday hit the turn the way I would. Maybe grabbed an extra drink or two and let loose.
No, they did keg stands at the turn.
Yeah, they were in rare form. But I will say this was by far and away our closest head-to-head so far. Bo did take her down at 417. I was at 411.50, and Kelly 407.50, and we were pretty
11 points between all three of us, and all three scores were good enough to cash in just about every tournament on DraftKings. That's solid golf analysis. We all had strong teams. The only guy all three of us had was Aaron Wise, who finished runner-up in the tournament. So there you go. All three of us were all over Aaron Wise last week, and guess what? The boy nearly won it. And guess who did win it?
you. But the worst part about this was I didn't even play the spin it back. I feel like we just get right into it, but that's okay. The worst part about all of us having Aaron Wise, we all had vastly different teams. I had all 6 make it through. Connor had all 6 make it through. Bo had 5 of 6 make it through and 1. But Aaron Wise was my last player still scoring points at the end when it mattered the most. So it didn't matter for me because you guys still were scoring. And it sucks because right before that, I'm like, holy crap, I'm in first place now. And I was in first place. And then my guys finished and I had Aaron Wise. And it didn't matter because I score, you score.
Exactly.
It's beautiful. It was a wonderful victory. I will take it. I needed to get off the schneid of finishing second every single week with one of you two, usually Connor winning the damn thing. Connor was well in line. I thought he was going to take it again until the back 9 on Sunday. And
yeah, Bo, you better send your boy Cam Young some spices and stuff to thank him for absolutely
falling apart.
Bed.
Oh, he shot through the screen door through the bed.
Now I had
diarrhea of golf.
Too. Yeah, so even if he had done well, again, that doesn't do me any good because then Connor would have still won. So
yeah. This week's way different though, man. Way different. We're talking a huge cut in how good the field is. There are some big names at the very top, but other than that, it's a pretty weak sauce field as everybody kind of gets ready for the US Open. But it's a beautiful course. I mean, Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I like it. Do you guys want to touch on the old LIV Tour at all? I mean, everyone else in the world,
they got more money. The Saudis like to spend money on things that don't matter instead of the things that do matter. I'll say that. So I'm not a big fan of these guys taking hundreds of millions of dollars from people who literally fund terrorism and genital mutilation and genocide against women and people of other races and creeds. So yeah, go get your bag, boys, but you should think twice about where that money's coming from because this is not a good outfit.
I'm not super pumped about the fundamental backing of the league, or at least what seems to be the backing of the league. But as an interest of it being another golf league that will,
we like golf
gambling. I do think some interesting things about this tour. The team format is something that's unique. I do think that could be somewhat entertaining to watch.
Shotgun start. Yeah. Just like us beer drinkers on Saturday.
Right. I mean, I think it's going to be a little more of a party league. I hope that they do some cool stuff the way that like the USFL and the XFL did to kind of put a spin on football, make it a little more entertaining for the fan to watch.
Yeah, because Dustin Johnson's so entertaining.
And that's, I think that's the upshot of it is you look at this league and yeah, people are out there getting their money and that's really great or whatever. But you look at the initial offering of players for this, and I mean, there's 6-7 guys that anybody gives a shit about. And I would use that really loosely because, like, to be frank, I mean, Louis Oosthuizen, not that great at TV. Taylor Gooch, I mean, yeah, he's going to be a guy, but like
a Twitter guy.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin Na is somewhat entertaining. He plays slower.
Kevin Na, everybody hates Kevin Na. And he had the funniest typo. So his resignation letter, did you see what he titled it as? To my fan. It was a typo, but it was funny because to my fan, and everybody was like, "That's pretty appropriate for Kevin Na since nobody seems to like the guy." And I think who was it that said that? Oh, our average round just got 20 minutes faster.
I wish I could come up with it right now too, because I was actually laughing my ass off about it. It was pretty funny.
So good.
But, I agree with you guys, both of you. There's entertainment value for sure. I feel like that is the one thing that may light a fire under the PGA is that this motive is supposed to be about the fans and about the game and about equality and pay or whatever. But at the end of the day, just like Bo said, as terrible as America is and as many problems as we have, we're not out there censoring our journalists by dismembering and mutilating and jailing them, and our sports stars by jailing them, and so on and so on. So the human rights people are out there saying America's no better. You know what? We're trash, but we're better than that. We're
the recycle bin, guys, not the trash. We're the recycle bin. Nobody wants us either, but at least we can be repurposed at some point.
I love that. We're the recycle bin. We're not out there like dismembering people, is what I'm trying to say. As trashy
on the record,
as
we're not.
For the record, we're not.
And I do think it is important to draw the distinction between entertainment and politics a little bit. Like, yes, all of that stuff is very prevalent with this whole deal. And I'm not trying to brush that under the rug, but I do think that there are some tangible benefits to having a competitive or competition for the PGA Tour. I do think that some of the purses are going to have to be increased. Some of the whether it's contractual obligations or contractual pay for the players, I think there are some things that the PGA is going to have to revisit. And I think a lot of these guys, like if you listen to Dustin's resignation interview, he alludes to several times a possibility of coming back to the PGA. This is where I'm going to play for now. This is where I'm going for now. Like, right. And I do think that, I think if the shoe was on any of our,
the guy who just cashed a check for $125 million.
But that's what I was going to say, right? Is $125 million. I mean, if the shoe
more than Tiger has made in his entire career on the course.
Exactly. And you look at a lot of these guys like Taylor Gooch. If Taylor Gooch finishes dead freaking last every single tournament, he's going to make more money over the first 2 years of playing in this league than he would make in a lifetime playing on the PGA Tour. And that's
making cuts. And making cuts on the PGA Tour, because you don't get paid if you don't make the cut on the PGA Tour. Yeah, so this format gives him guaranteed money where he doesn't even have to play well.
And that's all I'm saying is I think a lot of the politics aside, you do have to kind of look at the decision that some of these guys are faced with. I mean, it's they've got families, they've got futures to think about, and I do think that is a part to think about with this, is that if the PGA was, I guess, in step with what the players have been asking for years, then this would be kind of a moot point. But their refusal to evolve.
I'll just say what it is. It's trash. This is trash.
I feel like it's
just gross.
The only problem with that argument, Connor, is that they make millions of dollars as it is. If they don't play well, they're not going to make a bigger purse. They need to play in order to be paid. And I don't see what is so hard about that. And I feel also like paying them just for the sake of who they are, their personality, has nothing to do with their ability, which is what sports is supposed to be about. So
it's supposed to be that way. Yeah, I agree with you. However, the NFL, the NBA, and the MLB have proven to us for over 2 decades that that's not the case.
No, you're right. I just see both sides of it, and all of it feels gross to me. But I just had a comment up here. I'll put it back. The big Pulowski said, competition's always good. It helps people, our leagues not become complacent. And I think that's what we've said, is that maybe this will light a fire under the PGA to be like, hey, we need to do something. I don't think it's pay for play, though. I don't like that. I don't like.
No, it's gross. Like your instinct there, Kelly, is accurate. It's gross. This is a disgusting seas of publicity from Greg Norman and his investors that have extremely shady is the nicest way to put it. His ties are that bad with his financiers for this tour. And I like Greg Norman as a player, but as a businessman, the guy's been shady for a long time. And this just seems like he wants to stick it to the PGA Tour for sticking it to him towards the end of his run as number one player in the world was the beginning of Tiger's run. And the PGA Tour basically said, we don't need the shark anymore because we got the Tiger. And Greg Norman went from the top dog in the entire world, and overnight he was nobody.
But that's not.
He's still salty about that.
I don't think that this is a long-term. I don't think this is a long-term competitor of the league or of the PGA.
Not even close. They'd be lucky if they finished a whole season and before they just folded like the XFL or the USFL.
I am interested, I think, on more of a political stance side. I am interested to see what happens with the 5-6 states that they have in the US. I would be really interested to see what the turnout's like, what the protesting is like. I think that's going to really kind of define the LIV Tour's path forward. If they can't play in the continental United States, I mean, it's going to die before the season's over. So
I don't think they'll have any problem with that. Just maybe with the players that they have signed, hoping that they won't be suspended out of majors. Like if the USGA says, no, you're not going to get points for competing in this league. We're not going to give you an invite to the US Open, even if you have exemptions like Dustin Johnson does.
The US Open has already come out and said that they're going to allow whomever qualified prior to play. Now,
and that's how it should be. But we're talking about the PGA Championship is out. The Masters is probably out, if we're being honest. Mm-hmm. Masters isn't going to be wanting to be tied up with this. And then the Open Championship, we haven't heard from the RNA yet what they're going to do with this tour, because a lot of the guys that are flagshipping this thing are Euro Tour guys that are just looking for more money. It makes sense to them. But Euro Tour players and PGA top 15 golfers like Dustin Johnson and Phil Mickelson, that's a whole different ballgame. That's completely for publicity. And they offered Tiger close to $1 billion, which, thank you, Tiger. You turned it down because you understand the assignment. You understand what they're trying to do. And it isn't Tiger. Like, Tiger's the greatest of all time. He doesn't want to get mixed up in controversy. He's not stupid.
No, well, I agree with that too, but I do think that if Tiger were capable of playing all of the dates, I think that's another piece. Like, I think if Tiger could do it, he's on 2 feet. I think
for all his warts, he's a man of principle, and it seems like that would just be it.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's about principle either. He makes a shit ton of. Am I allowed to say that? Ton of money.
Doesn't need $1 billion.
On all of his endorsements, and I'm sure he would lose a lot of sponsorships should he do that. That is something to weigh out.
He just reestablished his sponsorships because he lost a lot of them from the whole Elon thing.
Right.
And he's finally rebuilding his image to where people want to pay him.
And endorsements and royalties, it goes on. And he doesn't necessarily need that. There was a comment in the chat saying relatively unknown guys on the tour could benefit like something like this. I could see that, but I also see players who are struggling with their careers like right now. Like, what about the Bryson DeChambeaus
Ricky Fowler joined up. And
Ricky Fowler. I'm
Ricky Fowler's running out of sponsors exemptions. So he's been just making money on sponsorships alone. So he's taking a big risk. I think Ricky's taking a huge risk because the only thing he's making right now is on his endorsements, because he's still somehow the poster child of the PGA Tour, despite him not being good for at least 5 years now.
But it's just players who have reached like the end of the road, like shit or get off the pot scenarios. That's the player who's going to benefit the most financially from this. They have a name still. Their name is what brings in the higher dollar. They're not performing on tour, therefore they're not earning on tour. So it's a balancing
I get why they're doing it.
I totally get why those guys are doing it.
But the guys that are those top guys that are scabbing it for hundreds of millions of dollars just so that tour can live, because without those names, that tour doesn't exist.
No.
Without those names, nobody sponsors that tour, and Greg Norman goes broke. So those guys crossing the line and saying, I will sell my notoriety for money without even considering the backlash or the consequences of making a stance. Taking money from certain places, that tells people who you are. It really does. People don't care if you're making a bunch of money, but they do care if you sold out.
And the unknown guys, it's almost as if it's a signing bonus. It's not sustainable.
If I was in those guys' position, I'd be thinking long and hard about it. It's just the other guys that bugs the crap out of me, that these guys who are already making it are jumping in just because we're just finding out what kind of people they are. That's all.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we could have an entire show about this.
We could.
I do want to talk about whiskey, and I do want to talk about the RBC, angry. And I do want to talk about the PGA Tour today. But I will say a couple of quick notes for anybody who may or may not listen to this. If you have interest in the LIV Golf Tour, it's a unique format. It's captained 4-man scramble style, giant purses. Right now, they don't have a TV deal. If you want to watch it, the first event is in London, so you're going to have to get up early. It'll be on YouTube, from my understanding. The next few events are Portland, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Illinois. All of those obviously will be on, some variety of American Standard Time. So I'm with everybody here, and I think we all are saying the same thing. I think that the general the general backing of this league is not something that any of us are super into. And this isn't a political show, so we won't get too much into it. But if you do want to tune in, it'll be on YouTube. And maybe we'll talk more about it down the road if it's.
And if you're like me, who's kind of already against it, I'm encouraging my friends not to tune in, just because I don't think anybody should support them. So I think that if you don't watch, it's actually doing the world a favor. So feel free to take my advice and not watch the LIV Tour.
I'll be watching the PGA Tour this week, just
for sure.
We are talking about the PGA Tour on this show every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where we normally pour a cocktail and go to the bar cam. But tonight, we are drinking bourbon. Straight up. Ooh. You've got Oak and Eden. Oh, that sounds nice. What does it say? Spicy? What?
So this is actually kind of a cool one. This is currently not distilled by the manufacturer. However, what they do that's kind of unique is they take a wood spire that they cut out of barrels, and then they put it in the bottle. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, so every spire is a little bit different. This particular one is a local barrel pick from a really cool store here in Sioux Falls. If you're ever in town, it's like a bona fide old school library style bottle shop called Bogies. But anyways, this guy is it's a wheat, highly wheated bourbon. And then it's not aged, but the spire inside of it is a French oak. So think like Maker's Mark, like that type of spice, that type of flavor profile.
The Maker's 46 especially.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's kind of what this guy is like. So they've got all kinds of different spires, different flavor profiles, rye, all kinds of stuff. But a lot of people don't know about this brand, and it's a cool taste. It's something unique.
I like that.
Yep.
What do you have, Bo?
I got my classic daily drinker Russell's Reserve 10-year from Wild Turkey Distillery. It's just fantastic. We're talking $30, $35 for a bottle, and it's just, you can get it anywhere now. It's an excellent bourbon, and 10-year age seems to be the sweet spot for me. Anything beyond 10 years age on bourbon gets a little too oily. So I do like the wood notes of an aged bourbon, and so the Russell's from Wild Turkey really hits the spot for me. And there's another version of it that's a single barrel with a red label. I love that one too. But this is the one I have tonight, the 10-year.
I had been drinking James E. Pepper, right of Kentucky. Sadly, I finished the bottles that I had. So tonight,
pour one out.
I'm working my way through a giant vat of Woodford Reserve.
Oh, yeah, it's the Costco bottle there.
It's giant. It's like bigger than my head.
Where's your Derby bottle?
I'm drinking that. I have my Derby napkin this evening. Again, My sister sent me these cool little hand-painted napkins, so I have it on my desk. She's there.
I almost picked my I have a Woodford double oak store pick, and it's delicious. But I was like, I knew you were gonna do Woodford, so I wanted to be a little different. I didn't want to steal your thunder because that basic jug of Woodford is still so good.
This is before your guys' time on the show, but last year for the PGA Championship, Nate and I did Woodford double oaked single batch, and
so good.
Oh, it's so good.
That is one of the best bourbons in the world. It's so hard to beat.
Well, normally we put out the drink recipe a few hours before the show so people can go out and get it. And this week it was just grab your favorite bourbon, come and sit with us and chill. And so here we are. So let's go ahead and move on and talk about this week's tournament. Let's learn about the course. Connor, take it away.
So the LIV Tour took us a little longer than I thought it would. So just briefly, this week, RBC Canadian Open, we're at Royal St. George. The course is about 7,014 yards in distance. You're par 70. Basically, the things to know about the course itself, the rough is up, is the reports. They're projecting some moisture, which is going to make it play really, really tough. And you should get some more growth before the end of the weekend. So that's something to think about. Accuracy is going to be at a premium. Got smaller than average green complexes here. Super, Kelly's favorite word, undulating greens.
Undulating.
So I think approach game is going to be super important. There are quite a few bunkers that have been added after the renovation. What else do we know? There are 3 par 5s.
Yeah, that's a good one.
3 and 5 par 3s. The interesting thing about the par 3s is that all of them, when stretched out, are in excess of 200 yards. So these are long par 3s, and you've got an extra par 5. The par 4s, obviously, you can tell by the yardage at 7,014 that your par 4s are going to be pretty modest, which is going to be more of your scoring opportunity. But all that being said, in my modeling this week, I did weigh in par 3 scoring over 200 yards. I did weigh in par 5 scoring. I did bunkers and scrambling just to take a look. Small greens, if you're missing, I want to know if you can get up and down. I looked at approach. I looked at driving accuracy and overall strokes gained off the tee. And I think that was about it that I looked at. Bogey avoidance was on there as well, because I do think the score is going to be pretty modest. I think probably 12. I think 12 to 16 under is probably about where we're going to end up.
I think towards the higher side of that, like 15, 17 somewhere is what I'm guessing. Because par 70, we're going to get some 64s. We might even get a 63 thrown in this week, because when I hear short course, no matter how wet it is, most of these guys are making it a short course and going further than that. And especially when you add the moisture to it, if they're finding the fairways, they're going to be popping it close and tapping in birdies, because when the greens are soft, PGA Tour players go to work. Like we saw that break in the weather a couple weeks ago, and guys went from 5 over to even par within a couple holes because it was green flag racing. When it was wet and the wind was down, they scored no matter what on this tour. And even with this downfield, I think that we're going to have some pretty good scoring.
And that was exactly what I was just about to say, is I think you're right. There are a handful of people that I think are going to be able to take advantage of better conditions if we get them. However, this field, as a general statement, is not the world's most accurate, and really not only off the tee, but also not on our.
I was trying to find the guys with the good strokes gained off the tee, and I was like, really? That's it? There's like 15 guys that I really trust, even just for that one stat out of the whole field.
I got my after I did my mixed condition model on Fantasy National, I got my player pool, and it was a stretch up to 18 people. Like that's where I'm sitting right now. I don't think I'm going to have more than 20. Getting outside of that.
I think I'm going to do single entry this week, just because I'm having trouble building that many lineups that are unique with guys that I actually like.
Yeah, I am seeing that, but more so on FanDuel than on DraftKings. You are going to have a much better time, more enjoyable time playing this week on DraftKings. I'm just going to throw that out there because
prices are a little steep on FanDuel.
It just doesn't make sense to me, the swing. And we talked about this previously before going live. Is normally because FanDuel, you get an extra $1,000 in your salary. We expect the salaries or in your, what do you call that? Cap.
Your cap.
Your salary.
It's 10,000. It's 10,000 more.
10,000. An extra 10,000 in your salary cap. We expect the salaries, individual salaries, to be like 1,000, maybe 2,000 more. But what we're seeing this week is far more than 2,000. In some cases, more than 3,000 on players. Wow. And I can't figure out how to build a lineup that doesn't involve people that I've never played before, honestly.
Or random Canadians that are just qualified for this on Monday.
Typically, this is where FanDuel edges out DraftKings in terms of playability, right? Is normally you can play all the guys you want to play. Well, when you have a field like this where the majority of the people want to play are all right in about the same skill set, that's where FanDuel starts to be a lot more difficult to play. There's probably 10, 15 guys right down the middle of the field that all are about the same price, and you got to flex them out somehow. And that's where FanDuel sometimes is a tougher sled than DraftKings. So I think this week really falls into that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just rough because a lot of times I'll try to play the same lineup if I'm really in love with it in both if I can. And if I can't, it's usually my value pick that I'm swapping out in one or the other, or maybe two players in one or the other. But this week, I don't know that I can even string together three players and still stay in my salary cap. It's wild, you guys.
I have no trouble building a team on DraftKings. I just don't think I'll be able to build
FanDuel.
I know,
for sure.
But yeah, FanDuel, it was hard. Like I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do. When DraftKings, I was like, all right, these are the guys I really like that I'm going to build off of first, like my core players. I've already got this figured out. And then I was like, okay, that's a piece of cake. Like I'm left with at least 200 to 600 of salary left over on DraftKings with the guys I like. And on FanDuel, I'm scraping, like I'm scratching to get that last guy to shoehorn in, and I really don't like him anyway. Like he's a borderline play that I'm having to shoehorn in because I can't afford anybody else.
Should we cue the drop and get into it?
Yeah.
No trunk slams. I will put in no trunk slams, but I want to make a newbie point. For those of you who are watching or watch the replay that may be newbies and you're still trying to figure out what platforms you want to play, you can play multiple platforms. But when you're looking at the data and you're looking at the salaries and you have a limited budget, definitely play the platform that allows you to build a team you love the most. And for me this week, it's DraftKings.
Yep. I
drop the mic.
Agree.
Here we go with no trunk slams. Let's go.
The club is well. This would be a wrestling slam.
Yes. So if you're new to our show, no trunk slams, we're going to dive right into who we see in our lineups without being babies and whiners. Let's do it.
Oh, no, we're going to whine for sure. Kelly, why don't you kick us off? Who do you like this week?
Man, I hate to say it because this week I may be piggybacking off of the two of you. Oftentimes I go off on my own road, but this week.
Are you breaking up with Scotty Sheffler today?
I'm breaking up with Scotty Sheffler today.
Heartbreak City.
I was like, there's no way. She would never.
I'm breaking up with Scotty Sheffler, but I will put this out there. Every time I break up with somebody, they play well. So do with that what you will.
That's the rule with all of us. That's the rule with all of us.
that seems to happen for me, but I'm breaking up with Scotty Sheffler. I feel an affinity towards McIlroy this week. My
Play
gut is
max
telling
exposure
me
to Scotty Scheffler. I'm writing that down.
you should. Actually, you should. McIlroy is calling to me, and if I were to look at Bo, I will go have that second breakfast with Cam Smith this week as well.
11sies? Yeah,
That's where I'm at,
I
and
like.
I'm piggybacking.
Yeah,
Well, at
okay.
least I don't
get
have
it.
to say Rory this week. At least somebody else said it, so that I can just be like, "Yep."
The defending champion at a different course. I get it. He's great. He's one of those guys, though, that you really can't fade in this tournament because it's going to be a big chalk fest. So you're going to have a bunch of balanced chalk at the very, very top, and the rest is going to be an absolute crapshoot. So you can't avoid Rory in this tournament. He's simply one of the top 5 guys in the field in ability. He's not playing great lately. Like, he's playing good Rory golf, but he always falls apart.
He's been playing great. If you were to go back and look at the stats,
Great Rory wins when he's good.
He's on the fringe. For the last 5 weeks, he's been on the edge of glory. I'm on the edge.
Do you realize how much heartbreak he's caused our friend Connor the last few weeks? Where he's like, Connor's like sticking his neck out for Rory every week. This is the week he matches up with the course perfectly, and then he's got the 54-hole lead, and then Rory shits the bed. And
the points are there. No. Yes.
Not as many. You get 30 points on DraftKings for first place and not that many for second. So no, it's not good enough when you pick a guy to be your captain and he fizzles out at the last frame every time this year. Like, we're talking about good but not great Rory. Great Rory wins these tournaments. Good Rory is contending but just can't put it together, and that's what we're getting this year. Is this the week that he finally does what Connor has been begging him to do for a year? Could be, but I'm not betting on it, especially not at the very top of the price spectrum with these other guys that are actually winning these tournaments. There's a couple of these guys that are winning tournaments lately, and Rory isn't one of them.
And I'll say this, like, don't get me wrong. I will play Rory. I play Rory every week. Rory is but you know, my bias aside, Rory is, in my opinion, still one top 5 player in the world. Like, and so when you give him to me at 10-5, I'm gonna play that almost every time because I think that's a reasonable price for him, for somebody who could win any given week. I'll say this. I think this week the big decision people are making is Scotty Scheffler versus Justin Thomas. And judging by the early ownership projections, people are actually playing Scheffler. And
perfect.
I'm going right down to my boy JT.
Me too. He's JT all the way this week.
My pick
to win you said 2 things when you were introducing the course. St. George's, you said small green complexes. I'm thinking, okay,
sure.
And you're saying 5 par 3s that are nearly all over 200 yards. And I'm thinking those 2 things combined is JT week because the dude is nails with irons, and especially on par 3s, the dude is a dart on par 3s, especially the long ones where he's just so pure with that strike on those long irons that other guys just don't have.
And early projections have him a full 2.5 to 3% less owned this week than Scotty Scheffler, and also almost 1.5 to 2% less owned than Rory and Cam Smith. So Justin Thomas, to me, at 10-9, that's a hell of a deal for 12% or less ownership in the big GPPs. So I will be all in on JT. I can tell you this, there will not be any double stacking up top. The low 7s and 6s are abysmal. So you do have to make some choices this week. And I'll be probably 60% Justin, 40% Rory up top.
Now, here's a real question. This is somebody I am struggling with breaking up with. Do you want to guess?
Kind of.
Fitzpatrick.
I broke up with him a year ago. a year ago, and I haven't looked back and I haven't missed him.
You should have missed him because really last week was kind of an anomaly with poor putting. He has a history of playing badly at this course, and that's on me for playing him last week. But this week, I'm feeling optimistic. I feel good about his price. I'm feeling good about Fitz this week. Anybody else? Yes, no?
I like Fitz, but not at 9,900.
Okay.
Like,
How does this price not go down?
Well, I'll tell you how it doesn't go down because
It's
statistically,
an anomaly.
he's pretty damn good in almost every metric that you're going to look at. The one that
Except-
stuck out to me, about Fitzpatrick, and I can't get off of it, is there's a stat on Fantasy National called opportunities gained, and what that is proximity for a scoring chance, right? And he's 54th in this field for essentially proximity and scoring situations.
It's a bad field, guys.
So that to me says that Fitzpatrick is going to tread water, which is wonderful. And if he was at even mid eights, I would consider rostering him. But at 9,900, you've now put yourself in a situation where you've got to make a choice if Fitzpatrick's going to be your first in. And I just can't pull the trigger at that point.
You know who I like that's a little bit less than Fitzpatrick, and he's a native of freaking Canada?
Honors, I know. But before you jump into
Honors is another one that I'm on.
Oh.
Adam Hadwin.
Adam Hadwin. But before you go there, Fitzpatrick, you asked why his prices haven't changed, and Connor nailed that. But he's still gaining strokes like a madman. I mean, almost
he's not
more
scoring
than
DK points though.
Okay, I'm talking about play. Last week he had a bad week, but in general, he is playing well. He's got strokes gained. He's finished.
He was still, even in his bad week last week, he was 5th in strokes gained from tee to green. You know what that does is that tricks everybody thinking that he's actually good when he's not. That's the Fitz problem, because on the stat sheet, if you're looking at a spreadsheet and you're not watching golf, you think this guy's the greatest golfer in the whole world because he's a strokes gained machine. And then you look at you watch him play golf, and the guy is over par in every tournament. And we wonder, oh man, he got to the green so well, but why couldn't he get in the top 40 or make the cut? The guy just doesn't score DK points.
He has a pattern. And right now, we are on the upswing if you follow the pattern. It is a 2 or 3 week pattern, and we had the out week. Now we're back in. So he had finished grossly in 71st place last week, but before that it was 5th and 2nd. Then another super gross finish, and it was 14th and 5th. Then another super gross finish, and it was 9, 10, and 6.
All right, I'll give you that because the pattern does track pretty solid.
He is going to play well, and if we look even at his putting stats, while it is nothing to write home about, there is no decrease. Even with last week, it is only a slight decrease. Like when we're
he didn't get worse, guys. He didn't get worse. He just didn't get better either.
Which is okay when you have a bad week, because it could have been worse. So what I'm saying is, I am okay with Corey Connor this week. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not Corey Connor. Fitzpatrick this week. I'm going to make Fitz my captain because I don't want to steal McIlroy. And I don't want to, if you're picking Cam Smith, I have no idea, or somebody's picking JT, but I'm going to take Fitz as my captain this week.
Can I just say something, since we spent a ton of time on Fitz, and I do think it's important, is I do think he has some stats that would lead you to him. That's fine. However, his scrambling is middle of the field. His approach, middle of the field. Well, lower third of the field, I suppose. Around the green game, not great. Putting, not great. And that's not on these, ruffles have ridges type greens either. So I like Fitzpatrick. I play him frequently. Like I said, I just can't have it 9,900. If he was 1,000 less, I'd probably play him because I like some of the consistency that you're talking about, Kelly, with his off the tee game. Even some of the ball striking stats, do like Fitzpatrick, but that's a tall price on him.
I will dispute the scrambling stats because he's in a 69% from around the green, 64% from the sand, which is far, far higher than anybody. I'm looking at the top guys.
I'm looking at the last 36 rounds, which is the counterpoint to what you just said about the pattern that's emerging. So
Yes.
he's 33 in the field, 33rd in the field for shots gained scrambling. He's 37th in the field for shots gained around the green. He's 38th in the field for putting. He's even worse when you change that to bent.
You just brought up a really great point, though, and maybe Bo knows this.
Grass.
But when we're looking at Team Rise or Fall, for instance, at the Study Hub, do you know what the weeks combined? So when we're looking at scrambling, for instance, and I'm seeing Fitzpatrick.
That's for the whole season.
The whole season. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So
perfect.
Like 19 or 20 events by now. So yeah, statistically over the course of the whole season,
he's
like
top.
you can drill down to more recent things, like what Conor does on Fantasy National is drill down to a specific time period instead of the whole season, because Fitz statistically over the whole season is one of the best ball strikers in the world. And over his last recent rounds have been trending terribly for him, because he's gone from being one of the best in the overall game to one of the worst as it comes into this tournament. And so I see where both of you are coming, is like Fitz is like on paper, you're like, this guy's spectacular. And then you're watching him play golf the last 2 or 3 tournaments. Even when he was in contention, you saw him fold under any tiny bit of pressure. And so I question whether he can finish even if he's playing well.
And really, Bo, to your point, but to kind of all of you and I point our points. I think where it gets concerning is that his scrambling statistics, and it's around the green game that we're looking at over the last 36, or at least that I'm looking at, were on less challenging courses. Like not saying overall less challenging courses, but the green complexes, the bunkers, those things. So I just don't think this is a get right circumstance for Fitzpatrick on his short game, is all I'm saying. Like,
no,
I'm happy to go back to
fair. That is fair. But what I'm seeing last week, and it's my bad, is that he has struggled with the course they played on last week. So it's probably in his head, and he played poorly again. So hopefully, according to his pattern, he'll be on the upswing at least this week, if not even next week. So I'm choosing Fitzpatrick as my captain, and we can stop talking Fitzy and move on to the next tier.
Oh, I can't believe we just talked about Fitzpatrick for 10
Gross.
Gross.
Tally ho, lad.
Hey, everybody, tune into our live stream. We love Matt Fitzpatrick.
Where we talk about Matthew Fitzpatrick in the accent in which he hails.
You know what? It's only because I can't even get a word in with you guys. And I'm like, hey, I have something to say.
I let you say your piece. I don't agree with your piece, but I let you say
Thank you.
Bingo.
Thank you.
Bingo. All right, so getting down into the 8s and 9s. Couple of guys that I want to call out. I think CT Pan is a guy I'm going to look at again. His around the green game has actually been pretty decent. The only hole that he's got really is his par 5 scoring, so that's concerning. But he's number 2 in this field for the par 3 yardage that we're looking at, and there's 5 of them. So I really kind of like that stat. Bogeys avoidant, he's in the top 15. Shots gained approach, he's number 5. And then opportunities gained, he's in the top 20. So I like that proximity stat. I like that approach game, and I like those par 3 scoring. So CT Pan at $8,100 is going to find his way into my lineup again.
I like it. Bo, do you want to go?
Yeah. So for a couple more you can go to the Danish guy that a lot of people have never heard of, but I love this guy this week. He's a great player. 8,300 is almost a scary price for a guy, but he's been dominating out there in Europe, and then of course on the World Tour. Like he's a new guy, but he's only missed one cut all season, and he's averaging 70 DraftKings points. This is a course that rewards accuracy, and Rasmus Højgaard, Hojgaard,
Yep.
is statistically popping up in every model I have because
Same.
the dude is on fire this year, and this is his first PGA Tour tournament since March 31st at the Valero Open, and he finished 18th in that tournament. He played the Corrales Punta Cana Championship right before that and finished 6th, and then he's been back on the WT ever since. This guy's playing amazing golf right now, and nobody's going to have him because he's an unknown Danish guy with a funny name and an $8,300 salary. I'm taking shots on him.
You want to know the only reason I even know that name is because today I was recording my video, which is still not complete for Team Riser Fall, and I decided instead of showing how to use the study hub in general, let's poke around in some different tabs. And I was showing people how to sort salary and then sort projected points for DraftKings, and lo and behold, comes that name Ho, and I'm like, shoot, I'm writing that down. But that is not who I want to talk about right now. I just wanted to share.
I will not be playing him.
Oh man, I got leverage on the show already. Man, this is great.
Back-to-back weeks. Anything of note was in April. I'm not playing him. Like he's notoriously loses strokes in almost every metric. Like I'm not playing Højgaard. Sorry.
I found it to be appealing salary-wise plus projected points, but I digress because that's not where I'm going. I have 2 players that I want to talk about, but I'm going to save the second one for the lower tier because, wildly enough, they have a $3,000 spread between DraftKings and FanDuel. So the person I'm going to talk about right now will be Chris Kirk at 9.1 on DK and 9.9 on FanDuel. I am on the Chris Kirk train again this week, and he is not a bomber. Okay, he's not a bomber, but he's accurate. He is accurate, and he can scramble. And this shorter course is made for an accurate player who doesn't hit a bomb, who's not going to hit a far draw or a far fade just for the sake of 300 yards. We're talking 275 maybe, and right in the middle of the fairway, and then right onto the green, and then right into the hole, folks. So I'm betting on Chris Kirk this week in my middle tier. Did you like all the hand gestures?
I actually love that pick. I have nothing to say. You nailed it. I love it.
Thank you.
I guess I'll be on board with Chris Kirk. He'll be in my pool.
Dang it.
I will
You're
say
trying to get a rise out of us, out of Chris Kirk. The dude's never even seen a rise out of us.
I think I was the only one that played him last week.
No, I play him every week. I love his story. I love him.
Okay.
But I don't usually tout him on here because I think Chris Kirk's on a good streak right now. Chris Kirk has the potential to absolutely blow up, and that's the only thing that he hasn't recently. He's rating out 3 in my model. I mean, over the last 36, so that's saying something. But I will say, if I play Chris Kirk, I can't play anybody above 9,500. Yeah. So those lineups, if I play Kirk, I'm probably starting with Adam Hadwin and stacking Hadwin and Kirk.
That makes sense.
I'm going to avoid Corey Connors. Corey Connors at 18% chalk. I'm going to pass. $9,600.
Chalk, and he's overpriced. Like I think he's going to contend here, but you're not going to gain anything on the field by playing him.
No.
Oh my goodness. I cannot believe time has flown and I still don't know if there's a show right behind us. So let's get into our bottom tier if we can. And
let's get into the 7s just because that's where I think a lot of people are going to have to live this week. You do not want to find yourself in the 6s. Like,
so,
I have a couple guys in the 6s, but that's it. There's a lot of them too.
I have 1.
Okay.
1. All right.
Do you? Okay.
I want to talk about Mark Hubbard because, like, usually it's Connor that touts Mark Hubbard, but Mark Hubbard is my guy this week.
Okay.
7,900 on DraftKings. He's averaging 70 DraftKings points a week. That's incredible, especially for that bracket under 8K. 3 top 10s this year, only missed 4 cuts. He's an accuracy mogul. This guy lives to be precise. And when you have these shorter courses like they've seen every other week on the tour this year, you see Hubbard pop up where he plays really well in these types of tournaments. And if the greens are soft like they're calling for, he's going to be playing like darts out there. He's going to be throwing lawn darts out there next to the hole. And I think he's got a chance to win this thing.
I think if the score stays sub 15, like if it's 15 or higher, I think Hubbard's in contention. The only thing I worry about with Hubbard a little bit is his off the tee game is not fantastic. It's okay from time to time. His bread and butter, to your point, is more the approach. And so I think if he's on point with his approach, he does rate out really well in that key par 3 scoring distance that we talked about. So I do like that. He's a good par 5.
That was a huge one for me too, is that par 3 scoring. 5 par 3s on the course is one more than average. And it makes a huge difference in how you attack a golf course when there's 5 par 3s, because those are demanding approach shots. They're designed to be.
The 2 guys that I really like, well, there's 3 that I really like in this mid 7s. JJ Spawn is not a guy that I'm going to call out too often. However, he's another guy that has that accuracy game.
That's Kelly's guy. He made her look like a genius a couple weeks ago.
And she nailed it. And he's continued. All the things that Kelly said about him a few weeks back have continued. He actually rates out number 14 in my modeling. So I'm on board with JJ Spawn this week. And I think he's another guy that typically is not a sexy pick. So I don't think that we're going to have a ton of ownership on him. A lot of hype is going towards Dylan Fratelli, who's right there about $100 less. And I like Dylan Fratelli for similar reasons. Dylan Fratelli's got a good approach game. And hey, none of these are going to be sexy, but these are the guys we got to play this week. But the one I'm most excited to play, and then I'll let you guys talk, is Austin Smotherman at 7,500.
I knew it. I knew the Smotherman was coming to smother us. Man,
you know me at this point. I find my guys, and this is one of my guys. But my guy is number 9 in this field for opportunities gained. So he's got the proximity. His off the tee game, he's 16th. In his approach game, he's 14th. If there's anything that scares me about him, it is that around the green, if he misses, he's not super good getting up and down.
Bad. He's bad. And those are scoring shots, man. This guy, you can every time you only mentioned him a couple times this year. I'll give you credit for not going all in on a nobody, but the guy really hasn't played that well. He hasn't finished very well. Like I've seen him pop up like with a 68, 69 round, and then his next one's a 77, and he misses the cut anyway. Like, there he is, and then where'd he go? That's Austin Smotherman. I'm not playing him anymore because he's not good.
Here we go. We have a few minutes left, and I'm just going to add my value pick, my long shot in the dark. You cannot play this player on FanDuel. I will tell you that right now. And that is, you can't. You just can't. It's not logistically possible with the budget. But Pat Perez, Scottsdale, Arizona.
Again.
I'm playing him again. He has been consistently good-ish enough.
He's a friend of the show. We gotta love Patty P.
I gotta love me some Patty P. I'm playing him again. 7-6 on DraftKings, but oh my gosh, 9-6 on FanDuel. Are you kidding me? They
really don't want you to play him, do they?
I guess not. But you can play him.
That usually tells me to play him.
Yeah, because everybody's gonna be looking at him like, what, him?
On DraftKings, because he finds an above average number of fairways. He is not a bomber.
Has very kind eyes. Just like
I actually don't know about his eyes, but I follow his wife on Instagram, and she's entertaining. But I will say that you will find that he's going to land in the fairway. He's an accurate driver, and we got to give him that. Even though he's 15 or 20 yards behind some of our bombers, it doesn't matter on this course, and that's the best part. So he's going to be right in it because of his accuracy and driving, and I'm looking forward to seeing my little Pat Perez performing again this week.
Gross.
So should we do sub sevens, our captain's picks, and get out of here as quick as we can?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any
I'll
sub sevens. It is now
I have
9:30. Throw them
I have
out.
two. I'm just gonna throw their
out.
names out. Bryce Garnett for me at 6,700 is good on short courses like this. Really good short game. And then 6,700 also Callum Tarrant, the Englishman, playing really well since debuting on the tour a few weeks ago. Callum Tarrant at 6,700 is going to be very heavily rostered in my pool.
Yeah, I like him too. And then Ryan Moore, actually, I don't like him very often.
There's a name.
I know. I told you I was scraping, but I did look at some of the stats, and he's got a pretty decent approach game. He's pretty good from the par 3 distances, and he's actually decent at bogey avoidance, which we looked at this week. So I don't mind Ryan Moore at 6,800. I'm not going to be in the 6,000 range very often, so I'm with you on Callum, and then Ryan Moore is probably my other one.
I love it. You guys, this was a really great week. We spent a lot of time on Fitzpatrick. We drank some bourbon. We had a good time. And if you're following our picks and tailing along with us, whether it's a prop bet or a DFS lineup, last week we all did fantastic. So I hope you follow again this week. I'm going to
hit us up in the DMs if you got questions too.
Yes,
we get lots of DFS questions every week. This is our bread and butter, man. This is what we actually enjoy researching because golf stats are fun. Like you think it's boring stat stuff. No, golf stats are actually really interesting, and it makes us tick. And we're winning money out there. All three of us were winners last week. So don't be afraid to reach out if you have questions.
Yep, it's true. All of our lineups.
Who's your captain, Kelly?
My captain this week is I'm gonna go ahead and go with Fitz this week. I'm gonna do it.
Hyperventilate. Connor, do you want to take him before I take him?
So I'll take either Justin Thomas or Cam Smith. I would take either one. So I'll leave it up to you.
I'll take JT because I'm kind of off Cam Smith.
Okay, then rewind because I thought Connor was going to take McElroy. I will take McElroy as my captain this week.
That's fair. It's a white elephant rule.
He's
white elephant rule. She gets the white elephant rule where there's somebody. Yeah, she wasn't expecting Connor to pin.
I expected Connor to take him again this week, but I will be playing Fitzpatrick. So
he's gonna win. I guarantee it.
I gotta give that.
It'll be Kelly's victory if he does. So Connor, Cam Smith, I'm going with JT, and you're going with Rory. Got it.
Cheers to everyone. We'll report back next week. Make sure you tune in, tell your friends, watch the replay if you missed our lineup around the halfway mark, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Cheers, everybody.